Okay, when it comes to creating forms, I'm going to show you how to add in little check boxes or drop-down fields or text fields that you can actually have the user, when filling this out electronically, hit the tab key, and when they hit the tab key it doesn't add extra cells. Like if I was in here and I hit tab, it adds an extra cell, or it pushes text over. So I'm setting up these little fields that when they hit tab or they use their mouse, it gives them limited options when filling out this form. You can create form however you want. You don't have to use a table, as you can see here. And when I click on this little box in the upper left hand corner, you can see it selects my table. Well, I don't have to use a table, but I'm just showing you for demonstration that in my preference I like this set up in table format. It's more pleasing to the eye and it directs the eye. So I can change this table by coming up here to the Layout tab and clicking on converting the text from the table separated by tabs, where it's separated by cells here, and click OK. And you're not going to be able to see the text because remember the text was in white against a black background. Now it's white against a white background. So if I click on the font, changes it to black, and you can see. So you can just go ahead and type this in there, come in here and say this is name, and then down below, type in first, last, and so on. And then go ahead and insert your check boxes next to them, or drop down fields, or whatever you want to do. Since this is my form, let me fill it out my way and show you the process along the way of how to add drop down fields, text box fields, and check boxes. Okay? So I'm going to click undo to get rid of this and emphasize to you, you can set up the form any way you want. The emphasis here is how to add those little check boxes and drop down fields to get the information you desire to complete, in this case, their video training request out of them. So first of all, I'm going to come up here to the Developers tab, and if you don't have that, it's not on there, then you want to click on the Office logo button, come down to Word Options. Under the Popular category, check the box here, Show Developer tab and ribbon. Once you click on that, because it doesn't come pre-installed, it'll dump it up here for you to click on. I'm looking in the Controls box here, and going to click on the Legacy Tools, and I'm focusing on these buttons up at the top, basically on all of them except this one, inserting a frame. And let me go over from left to right real quick, and then I'll show you how it's done. First one is the text box tool. You see the AB, that just means that you insert a little box that people can type in text. So it keeps them within that box, whatever they type within that box. Okay, it's a field for entering information. This one is a field for just checking. You can type text next to this box saying, would you like us to call us? Yes or no, and you can put a checkbox for the user to check. This one's the drop down field. They only have one option. So for example, if we had a party and we said, do you want pizza or hamburgers, we could create a drop down list and they have to choose pizza or they have to choose hamburgers, but they can't choose both. Like check boxes, you can check hamburger and pizza, but with drop downs you can only select one. Unless of course I created 3 in the list, hamburgers, pizza, or both, and gave them that as a field. Skipping this field right here but going right to the shading field, all that does is that when you insert the little boxes in there when you're designing it, would you like it shaded so you can see where your fields are that you've inserted, helps you locate those form fields. Then this one basically looks like an eraser, it just resets the form fields, which we'll cover later here. But let's get started. You can see I'm already down in here in the title field here, which is Ms., Miss, Mr., Mrs. What I'd like to do is give them a drop down field to choose from, and they don't have to type it in. So I'll click on the drop down field. It adds this gray rectangle box, and all I have to do is double click on it to bring up the properties. Or I can click cancel and just come up here as long as I'm in the gray box and I click on properties, it brings up the same screen. I like double clicking. So once I bring it up, I just need to add one item at a time in my list. So there's Mr., and then I come up here and I click add, and I'll type in Mrs. I don't have to click add, I can just hit the enter key on the keyboard and miss, hit enter. I guess you could put like unknown and then hit add. But the thing is here is that whichever item's at the top of the list is going to be the default. Most of the clients that we work with, are they males or females? And if they're females, are they Ms. or Mrs., or it's unknown. So I'm going to move this up to the top. And before I click OK, I'm going to work on bookmarks. What you can do with filling out these forms is you can tie a bookmark to it. This becomes pretty important. So for example, I'm going to go above and beyond this, showing you how to add checkboxes here. And you can cut out at any time, of course, if you got what you needed. But for the bookmark, this is going to be about the title, like Mr. and Mrs. K. By default, it adds bookmark 1. If I add more text fields, it'll add bookmark 2, bookmark 3, but that's not identifiable for me. And if you watch the training videos on bookmarks, more importantly on cross-references, this will come into play later. When I click OK, I name my bookmark, K, title. I'm going to show you, and I don't want you to get lost here, but we're still going to work on the form, but down on page 2, I got a letter. So anybody at the top of page 1 who fills out the form, I'm going to cross-reference it. So the bookmark where it says Dear, I'm going to pull in the bookmark title, and it'll automatically, whatever field's up here that I chose when filling out this form, Mr. Again, it'll automatically come down here and put in Mr. and then the person's name. Isn't that cool? So I can automate, hit two birds with one stone. When I'm filling out the form here, as the client calls in, and I'm checking all these fields and typing it in, or the receptionist does, when they're done, while I'm doing all this, down below it's inserting all their fields and predefined slots for me. So all I have to do is click print, and it'll have like, Dear Barbara Thatcher, Dreamforce looks forward to completing your training video request for, and I bookmark a field that's up there. Maybe it's Acrobat or whatever they type in, or Microsoft Word or Excel. The estimated time for completion is, and then up at the form, whatever I typed in, or the defaults are 3 weeks, 2 weeks, it automatically populates there. I mean, isn't that great? And then all I have to do is just print this off, mail it off to them. If I want to mail them off to them, or I could go ahead and send this as an email if I'd like. But in any case, we're taking it one step further. But let's go back. At least I digress and move ahead too fast, but let's continue filling in our form fields. I mean, just clicking here and saying this is where I'd like another form field for the first name. Clicking on the legacy tools, going to text box, double clicking the text box because we just want people to type in their first name. Now, this is going to be the bookmark first name, right? So I'm going to type in first, and I can type in name. As you recall, when you're inserting bookmarks, it doesn't like spaces. So don't add spaces in between it, okay? Go ahead and keep them all together. If you want to add a space, do an underscore. Then the next thing is that the text format. I can choose that after somebody types in all their information and leaves that field and hits the tab key to automatically put everything in uppercase, or maybe just the first letter in the word, like for first name, is always capitalized, so that makes my job easier. I can type lowercase and hit tab and it'll automatically cap it for me. And then if I wanted to prompt them, I could really force the idea home and saying this is the field where you type in first name. And then click OK, and you'll see first name. I know it says first up here, but name's way over here, and you see I could get lost because I'm from Generation X unless I can see it right before me. Okay, or Z or Y, whatever generation. Hit the tab key. Let's go ahead and add another field, just the same thing. Double click on it, and then this is going to be our last name. First letter is going to be capitalized, and this will be last name. And hit enter on the keyboard, and it adds it for me. So you getting the hang of this? I'm going to quickly add street and city. You don't have to watch this. In fact, I'll go ahead and zip forward, and you'll see these fields here. Okay, zipping ahead, since you get the basic idea of adding text boxes here, I'm going to add another text box. However, I'm going to customize it just a bit more for the state. I don't want people to type in the full name of the state, like California, Utah, and so forth. How about if we just define this field where they can only type in 2 characters, so it's the abbreviation of the state. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure my cursor's in that field or right next to wherever I want to add this field. And then click on text box tools, double click on it. And then of course my bookmark is going to be the state. And the default text will be, I'm going to type in ST. I want to give them a prompt that, just the 2 letters, the abbreviation of the state. And when they hit their tab key, I want it to be all uppercase. So if they accidentally type in CA, lowercase for California, and they hit their tab key, it'll automatically capitalize both of them. And then instead of unlimited text, let's really cut them off at the knees here and say you can only type in 2 letters here, which is the abbreviation in any case, and then click OK. Now we'll take this form for a test drive. You have to lock the form down. For those of you who've had previous versions of Microsoft Word 2003 or XP, you had 2 choices. You had a little lock button. You could lock it and test it, and you also could protect the document, which would lock the document as well, and you can test your fields. 2007, I haven't found a little lock button here. I actually have to protect my document to lock it down. And the reason why you lock it down is because, look, we're talking about 2 different types of users here. We're talking about the designer, so when they design, they're not accidentally checking in fields or filling it out. They're actually setting it up. So the front-end user, the one that's going to be filling out the form, isn't going to be in design view. We need to lock it so they can just fill in the fields and not go all over the place and delete the name or think that the name goes in here and types it. You know what I'm saying? So that's the purpose between the design portion of this, setting it up, we're the designer, versus giving it to somebody, locking it down so they stay within these fields and we can keep them on that path of what we'd like out of them here. Next is our zip code field. Again, adding a text box that you're very familiar with by now and double clicking on it and saying that this is the zip code, and I can do it in all caps, that's fine. However, I can keep this as regular text or just say, look, I only want numbers to be inserted in here. So I can click the drop down and do numbers. Now when I do that, it doesn't give me the choice to give a prompt here. I could choose a default number, like if the most popular zip code with clients that we work in is that zip code, I can have that as a default. I can still change it, but I'm going to leave that open. The characters for a zip code, 5 numbers long. I could go to 9, actually 10 if I add the dash, so it's 5 digits, dash, then the 4. I'll keep it at 9. Then the number format, you got quite a few here. You got percentages with a decimal, dollar signs, just a regular format, number format, rounding to the, it looks like to the nearest 0, and then any numbers that come after. Instead of using decimal, I can leave it blank and delete it, that's fine. Or I can just say the number format is going to be just numbers here, any number that they type in. It's not going to add dollar signs or percentages or anything. And like I said, you can leave this blank if you'd like, and we can do that. The bookmark for this is going to be zip underscore code. There it is. I don't add a space, but it looks like a space with my underscore, doesn't it? And then go ahead and click OK. Okay, I thought I would bring you back into the mix here. I mean, you already know how to add text boxes, right? We've added a few here, so I added a few more. Something that we just went over in addition to the city and state. Added the phone number. Also, there's software interest. It gives us the prompt. They can just click in here when I lock the form and type in they're interested in Excel or Word. And then the email, just of course typing in their email address. The media type, I'm going to do another drop down on this. Click on it, the legacy button, and go down to drop down, and this will be a refresher for you. Double click on it. And the only types of media after we create their training videos form that we offer is either via download from our website, and I can hit enter, or on DVD. I mean, these training videos can be pretty huge, and maybe it might be a few DVDs. Maybe they want it on both. There are some that offer on both DVD and download. And the default, most people prefers download. And then make sure I go ahead and change my bookmark, because like I said later on, I want to be able to cross-reference these fields here and create a letter just like on the fly using these fields. And you can see that there's the default there. I'm going to create another drop-down field here, the estimated time of arrival. And the reason why I'm creating this drop-down here for the estimated time of arrival, let's say that we have our different time frames that we can meet. And maybe we can meet as early as 1 week, and maybe 1 month is the next time frame, and then maybe 2 months from now, and then maybe just, I don't know, please call us or talk to somebody. In other words, what I'm trying to say is whatever they choose, we can tell them, look, it's going to take a week, it's going to take a month. If they really want to cram it in there and the receptionist is filling us out, boy, they're going to pay a heavy premium if they want something done in a week. And maybe we balance that out because we have to tie all our resources to creating that training video in 1 week. And maybe it's really huge and they want all of Microsoft Office. Maybe that's going to take a couple of months. Or please call us about this and we'll discuss this further with them. In any case, it gives them the choices here. And the bookmark is estimated time of arrival. Finally, another checkbox here, and I know you're getting familiar with this, but the other checkbox I wanted to add, or excuse me, the drop-down list, is I wanted to be able to say, is this a common type of software that we are creating for this person? It's going to be either yes or it's going to be no. And what I mean by commonality is that, if like, for example, medical billing software for a particular company, not everybody in the world uses this medical billing software, but I'm betting that more people use Microsoft, Windows, or Office. So because of the law of supply and demand, as it were, we're going to charge them more if it's not a common software that we can get some of our revenue back through other people, so we charge them higher if it's less common here. You can go ahead and say yes and no and add one in case if you don't want this defaulted, and say select one. So it prompts the user after you add it and you move it up to the top to select one. Of course, comments, we can add a quick text box in there. So if there's any additional comments, this is our comments. And make sure I bookmark it and say that this is about comments, and then hit OK. And then finally we get to the action taken here. Now we've covered text boxes where users can just type in as much text as they want, or we can limit it to them by saying you can only type in 2 characters in the state. You got your drop-down fields, which I know you can't see it right now because we're still in design format. Until we lock or protect our document here, we're not going to be able to come out of the designer view and be able to test it ourselves, and we're almost there. Then our action taken. What action do we want to take to be able to communicate with the client about the results here after we talk to them on the phone, how long this will take? I mean, do we want to phone them, email them, or mail them a postcard? In any case, what I want to do is add those different choices because, you know, I could actually not only phone them, but also send them an email, right? Well, if I get a drop-down box, I can only select one or the other. I can't select both unless I put in both. But to make it easier, to give it that multiplicity of options to choose from, I want to add in checkboxes. And here I go, and I click on it adds a checkbox. Okay, hit the spacebar, and we'll say we phoned them. Hit enter. Let's add another checkbox here. We said we emailed them. Now I could hit enter, and it expands that cell and adds a checkbox, but I'm going to undo that. But I'm going to hit the backspace. If I hit the tab key, it's automatically going to add a cell below. What I want to do is I want to be able to add another checkbox over here and take up the empty space over here. So to do that, I'm going to hold down the control key and hit tab, and it tabs it over for me. And then I can add another text box here, which we could say post. So once I'm done, I still want to be able to bookmark these, because if I want to reference these later on in another letter to be able to automatically pull in checkboxes, just double click on these, and down below, instead of the generic check box one, we could say this is phoned, and then emailed. You don't even have to put in checkbox, but it helps me identify this. Okay, so two things real quick. Now that I created my form here, I want to be able to test it. To be able to test it, on the Developer tab, click on my Protect Document, go down to Restrict Formatting and Editing. And if you can't see the button Start Enforcing, then your design mode is on. See how I click that and it fades away? So you want to get rid of and unselect your design mode. Second of all, you want to make sure that you check Allow only this type of editing in the document, and it's filling in forms. Because once we lock this, we don't want anybody messing with the title here or information over to the side. We just want them to focus on the form itself. So I'm going to go ahead and click Yes, Start Enforcing. I can type in a password here, but I'm not going to, and click OK. That's up to you. And then once it's there, I can go ahead and take this for a test drive. There it is. It works. Drop down fields is Mr. I hit my tab key and start filling in the form. See how I hit my tab key because it's locked down on the form fields, that it doesn't push the text over and it doesn't create additional cells. It bounces when I hit the tab key from one field to another. And remember how we got to the fields like state, and we said if we type in anything in there and we do it lowercase, when we exit it, it'll automatically cap it for us. Well, it just did that. Then I got to this one. I can click on the drop down arrow and say I want both. See how it expands it there? Looks pretty cool. Estimated time for Excel. The receptionist is saying to herself, Mr. Kershaw, it's going to be about a month. Hit the tab key. Excel is common 2007, so yes. And then any comments. And you see how I clicked in there? If I just start typing, it moves it over. If I click back out and hit the tab key and it tabs it right to it, it selects the whole thing, so I can just start typing and remove the extra text that's there. And then I can hit the tab key and it selects the box. If I hit the space bar, it checks it for me. If I hit it again, it unchecks it for me, or you can use the mouse and click on it. And saying that we have phoned and emailed, action taken regarding after Mr. Kershaw called in that this is a go-ahead, this is what we'll do. And then that's it. I can go ahead and either print this and hand it off to somebody, whatever your front office wants to do. If you want to go ahead and save this. Now keep in mind, this is still my template. I mean, I haven't saved it as a template yet, but this is all to test it to make sure I like what I see, right? So I can go ahead and stop the protection. And the funny thing is that it freezes in place. So if I save this as a template, the default every time is going to be my name. I don't want it to do that. So I need to come up here and click on the Legacy Tools and click on the little eraser to reset the forms all back to default where nothing's selected. It's starting over again. Now I can go ahead and say, yes, I want to enforce the protection. Type in a password and then click OK. And then before I do anything else, I'm going to save it like it is. I can close out of here. I'm not going to type anything. I'm going to go ahead and do File, Save As, and I want to save this as a Word template. Now the Word template, if you select this, is automatically 2007. If you don't want the default Word template 2007 but a previous version of 97 through 2003, go ahead and do that. I'm just going to go ahead and click on Word template. Now Microsoft Word is broken. In the previous versions of Word, when you saved a template, it automatically dumped you to the templates folder, as I just clicked on here, but you can see it dumped me to my exercises folder, which is the last place I was looking in. I've already talked to Microsoft about this and let them know that it's broken, and in any case, who knows when they'll fix it with the next update. So this is going to be my video training request form.dotx, okay? And then all I have to do is go ahead and click Save, and then close out. And then if I open up Microsoft Word again, double click, it's a template now. So if I click on the Office logo button, I go to New. It's My Templates. So under the Templates category, I go to My Templates. And there it is. Video training request form. So I could just basically, once I create this, if I'm on a server, a company server, anybody can come in here and use my template if they're taking calls or orders for us, the front office, the back office, wherever they're at, and just double click on this and boom, it opens up. It's like, oh my gosh, I got somebody on the phone. Go ahead, sir, tell me, or Mrs., and they can just start filling it out. And then you see up at the top where it says Document 3, it's not going to overwrite the template. If you watch the training videos on template, or if you haven't, please do watch it. But when I click Save, I'm not going to save it to the templates folder, even though that was the last folder that I was in. I want to make sure I don't start saving templates there. This is really something that's annoying, but like I said, hopefully Microsoft fixes it, because for the people at the front office who don't know any better, they may start dumping it in here. But I'm going to save it to my desktop, or maybe I have a folder that says Sales Today, and then click Save, or just print it off, you know, whatever you'd like to do. It's not going to overwrite the original template, because I can keep coming back, going New, My Templates, and double clicking and keep adding more and more and more. Now after you save it as a template, if you want to open it up as a template or make changes, you could always go ahead and Office to New, select My Templates, and then select it and change it to Templates. Now we've already talked about that, so I'm going to go ahead and cancel out. Now I'm going to go ahead and close out of these templates here, okay, and not save any of them. What I really want to do is to continue this training is I want to take it one step further than just filling out the form. And I want to go back and open up my template, make changes to it, and overwrite that template with the changes. So I'm going to go open up Microsoft Word, Office logo to New, and this is how I'm going to open up and edit my template. I'm going to go to My Templates, and instead of just double clicking on Video Training Request Form, which is a template, it's creating a new document, it's creating a copy of that template. Well, I want to go right into the template and work on it myself. So just keep in mind that when I double click and select it, this is my template, and I want to make changes to it. It's in the front user role mode. I want to change it back to design mode. In order to do that, I need to come to my developer tab and stop protecting the document by selecting Restrict Formatting and Editing again, and click on the Stop Protection in the task pane here. And then I can close out and continue on. Thanks for watching. Hey, as a quick reminder, if you like my video, please give it a thumbs up. You can also click on me and subscribe to my channel, get notified of the latest videos, and for only $2 a month, you can have access to all my Microsoft Office training videos.